What's going on, you rogues, rebels, and renegades? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Rogue Country Podcast. How are you doing? How are you keeping? Welcome to episode 60 of the Rogue Country Podcast. We did it. I can't believe we're at this number already. I hope you enjoyed the last episode where me and Josh sat down to talk about the great things that happened in 2022 and what is the great things that are happening in 2023. Some of the amazing things happening in 2023 we announced recently. We are doing some incredible Hank 100 celebration shows. So to celebrate the 100th birthday of the legendary Hank Williams, I don't need to explain to you guys who that is. We are putting on 2 shows in the UK. The first show we are putting on in Swansea at the Bunkhouse, and that is on Sunday the 17th of September on Hank's actual birthday, and that is going to be the Taff Rapid String Band, Josh Bettis, and Ashley Harding. And on the same day, at the same time, we're putting on an all-dayer in Birkenhead, my hometown. It's going to be me, the Burner Band, the Young Devils, Cold Hands, and Brandon Ridley. And it's going to be an all-dayer at the Swinging Arm in Birkenhead, and that is free entry. You cannot beat these shows. These are going to be the best shows in September. I guarantee you right now, you are not going to find better shows with better artists than what we're putting on, because that's our goal. That's what we're aiming to do. And for £10 at the Bunkhouse in Swansea, you can see a phenomenal lineup of the Taff Rapid String Band, Josh Bettis and Ashley Harding. And in Birkenhead, for free entry at the Swinging Arm, you can see me, Mike West, the Burner Band, Young Devils, Cold Hands, and Brandon Ridley. But hey, it's not all about us. Guess who else is touring the UK? Coming up in February from the 9th to the 12th, American Aquarium are over, and you do not want to miss these guys. On February 9th, they're playing London. On the 10th, Manchester. I've got my ticket. 11th, Glasgow. And 12th, Leeds. Not only are American Aquarium come over, guess who else is coming over? Mike and the Moon Pies. I love these guys. In April, on April 1st, in Newcastle they're playing. Then on the 2nd, they're in London. Then on the 3rd, they're in Nottingham. On the 4th, they're in Manchester. And on the 5th, they are in Oxford. You do not want to miss any of these dates. And I am super excited to be saying I am opening for them in Manchester on the 4th of April. So get your tickets for those, because without you guys coming out and supporting these gigs, country music will die in the UK. We need you rogues to come out and support it. Speaking of supporting Rogue Country, thank you so much to Ed over at Pawns or Kings for repping the Rogue Country t-shirts on his latest videos. It was a really nice thing to see, and it brought a smile to my face to see you rapping, and it was nice to see people in the comments asking where that shirt was from. So thank you so much, Ed, for wearing it. And you can buy your t-shirt over at our Bandcamp, roguecountry.uk/Bandcamp. I'll put the links in all our socials. It's dead easy to find. And yeah, what else have we done? We've got Hank flyers coming. We've got stickers coming. Finally, we have Rogue Country stickers. I'm so excited to start sticking them everywhere. It's going to be fun. If you would like some flyers and some stickers to help spread the Rogue word, get in touch with either me or Josh and we will send you some out. You don't have to pay postage, anything like that. We just want to help you help us spread the word, because we're a community, we're a family, we're a bunch of rogues together, and the only way we can make a change in the UK for country and roots music is by working together. On that note, episode 60 of the Rogue Country Podcast is with the awesome Buffalo Ghost, aka Joe Armitage. He's a producer, a musician, songwriter, engineer. He's got many hats and many talents, and it was a fabulous time to talk to him about his production techniques, building home studios, playing in the Sheffield scene, writing songs, recording in his kitchen, and it's a fantastic talk. I'm going to share it with you right now. So without further ado, this is episode 60 of the Rogue Country Podcast with Mike West and Buffalo Ghost. Yeah, where are you?
In my garage. I've kind of set up a studio. So let's look round. There's lots of stuff here. But I've just got some black curtains. And so they're all the way around. So it kind of deadens it a little bit. That's the idea anyway.
Yeah.
Because I was in the attic. And the attic was too small. Couldn't record anybody over 5'7". Oh. Because I was literally in the apex of the roof. So when I've recorded Jody in there, it was like trying to get Jody through a loft. Cut that out. Up a loft ladder was hilarious for me.
Yeah, it's like Harry and the Hendersons when Harry ends up in the house.
Yes, yeah, very much so. But you know, the sound was great in there because it's all lots of insulation, plus my daughter's collection of 1,000 cuddly toys. So they were just all around the walls, and it was great because it just provided really, really good sound deadening.
Yeah.
So we recorded most of his solo stuff up there,
Mm.
and then it got to a point it was like I can't just keep crawling up and down the loft ladder, so I'm starting to turn the garage into a studio. But I've still got a garage door like that way. It's got curtains in front of it, but it's not completely soundproof, and it's freezing in here. So it's a work in progress, but it's a room, and that's all you need, isn't it? Yeah. So are you the same? Are you got a spare? Is that
so this
studio room?
This is like my office, and it weirdly you don't realize how much things can affect like the sound of a room. We redecorated the whole house, so I've got all my artwork and stuff hanging up, and on the wall behind me was all my old tour posters. I had like all the gigs I'd played, all the posters I'd got. And we took all that down. So all the walls were bare and I was just playing guitar in here. And the difference in it was, you wouldn't think just having a few frames and a few posters down would make such a difference. And then I started putting everything back up and it started just sounding a bit warmer and things. It's a really weird thing. But I don't do the level that you do with like your production and engineering stuff. I record through Audacity to do demos, and then I'll try and get into a studio and stuff. But with your garage, like I think home studios, especially the pandemic, showed the need for those type of things so you could do remote recording and stuff. What did you have kind of before COVID, and what like did the pandemic influence you on what you did next and how you padded out your garage and stuff?
Funny enough, it kind of went the other way. When I was in my, I moved into this house 10 years ago, so it was quite a way before the pandemic. But in my old house, I'd got an attic and I'd kind of built it as a studio and stuff. And I wasn't doing the level of production I am now, but it was a space where I could go and literally record and play around and stuff like that. And then we moved here. I didn't have anywhere. I'd got my laptop and a mic, and I was writing and stuff, and I've always had Logic and really enjoyed doing production, but I was only ever really doing it for myself. And when lockdown hit, my wife was working at home. I suddenly got furloughed from the day job, and both the kids were at home, and I've got teenage kids. Well, one of them's past a teenager now. And so there was 4 of us in the house, but I'd suddenly got time where I was like, right, I'm never going to have this opportunity again. I'm going to write and record an album. And so the need to find space was then really funny because it was like, I don't have anywhere. Right, you're in that room. Okay. Well, Charlie's in the kitchen. Right, where am I going to go? So I was literally moving around the house to record various bits and bobs. So for that album, a lot of the acoustic guitars and stuff were recorded in my lounge because it's on the sofa because it's very padded and and a very dead sound. So a lot of them were all done in there, and then a lot of the vocals were done in my bedroom, which is directly above this garage. Because only because nobody was in there, so that was the only place I could record those. Fortunately, all the drums were recorded remotely because I'd got a couple of guys with me doing the album, and my drummer for that album and this new album actually is a guy called Roger Luxton, who's my brother-in-law, and he lives in Cornwall, and he's a session drummer, and he was off work, so it's like, well, what I'm going to do? So he recorded all the drums where he was, sent me all those stems, so at least I didn't have to try and record a drum kit in a house in 4 other people. So they were all done, so it was just mixing those. And then the bass was Andy Dye from Fargo, so he did all that, and then various other people were just sending me bits and bobs remotely. But mixing was the hardest thing, because I didn't have any speakers at the time, no monitors, because they were still at work. So trying to find headphones was really hard. trying to mix on headphones, and I've got these really nice headphones now. But at the
Mm.
time, I went through like 3 sets of Shure headphones in a year because they just snapped all the time. And I was like, oh, so annoying. But yeah, so it was recorded like all the way around, and then I don't quite know how I managed to kind of get it all done. 90% of it was mixed on headphones as well.
Mm.
So it was just I didn't really mind because at the time I just needed. It was just I felt so lucky to be able to have the time to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize that I wasn't in a studio or in an environment that was not ideal. And I think you can get away with quite a lot now. I don't think you need to be in a really like dead environment in a studio. I think that mics and technology that we've got are so good, and you can do it anyway. You can make a room sound deader. I mean, these curtains I've just bought on eBay. These are like ex-stage. They're actually L Street Studios.
Oh yeah.
Some guy was selling them, and they were in a right state. I had to drive down to High Wycombe to get them, and then I got back, and he'd only given me half of them.
Oh fucking hell!
So I had to phone him up and go, "What's going on?" And he'd given me half these things, and he was a bit of a dick. He was like, "Oh well, you can make me an offer for the other half." I was like,
fuck
"No, bought those."
Yeah.
So I drove down the next day to go and get them. So it's like a 200-mile round trip.
Fucking hell.
But
yeah,
they're really nice, and they do make a difference, and they make it warmer, which is one of the main things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was recording yesterday because I, as well as doing my own stuff, I record with like a singing group with Ash Gray and Mark Allen called Ash, Mark and Joe. Great name. But Mark's a producer in Nashville, and he's been doing it for like donkey's years. He's like got 30 years of recording experience in both Atlanta and in Nashville. And we just recorded in Ash's kitchen yesterday. And the way that he just kind of goes, we did 3-part harmonies all together with hardly any bleed. And he's like, yeah, that's good. I can work with that, and it's fine. And then doing acoustic guitars, he's like, right, okay, yeah, it's there. And he's like, bang on, and it's just that experience that, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. In fact, I sometimes like the fact that sometimes things can sound a bit off.
Yeah, no, totally. Like I watched the Billie Eilish documentary like a few months ago, and seeing that she literally recorded those albums in a bedroom with her brother. Obviously, they've got the high-end gear and stuff, so it's it's not a bedroom recording that teenagers or whatever will think of. But as long as you have some good sounding gear and you know what you're doing with it, you don't have to be beholden to studios and those type of things, because what we're recording on now is probably more technologically advanced than what Robert Johnson used to record his records in in that hotel room. So exactly. The opportunities we've got now from technology are insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I watched that documentary as well, and there's a really good podcast called Tape Notes, and Phineas does one on that. And that's really, 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 really interesting, because he talks about all the mics they use and all the gear. And the mics that they originally used were like $40 mics. Yeah. So Ocean Eyes and stuff like that are all recorded on really cheap stuff. I mean, he's an amazing producer, so he knows kind of the intricacies of how to get that sound so well. And but I think that's really inspiring, and what they've done, I mean, the way that she can sing so softly and get that dynamic is amazing. And I love stuff like that. But conversely as well, I went through a stage of really listening to Bon Iver, who I love. And that first album, the one that's done in the, for Emma, for whatever, I can't remember exactly the name of the title, the one that he did in the cabin, and he just went up with a load of recording gear. And I know that there's a lot of post-production that's probably been done on it and things, but I like the fact that it's very rough, like especially the vocals, because he layers them up. I love the fact that they don't quite match up. I love the fact that it's a little bit, you get that ethereal quality and it's not bang on. I like the fact that you can hear the guitar moving and the
Mm.
strings creaking and things like that. And I embrace that a little bit. To say that it's kind of it's an artistic decision to get me out of it sounding a bit crap, but I quite like it. I was the stuff I recorded with Jody for his solo album that we did that's not out yet. I don't know if he's played you any.
He's played bits.
Yeah, so all the chord organ stuff. I went on eBay and bought 2 like really cheap chord. You can get chord organs for like 15 quid, and they're brilliant. But they're quite noisy, so the keys kind of you get the of all the noise, and I'm like, I can either spend like a ton of time taking that out, or I can leave it in and make you realize what the instrument actually sounds like.
Yeah.
So I left them in because I really like the fact that you can hear the fan. In fact, on one of the tracks at the end, I leave the fan going and then I turn it off, so you hear the click and then the fan going, ooh, which I like as a little moment.
It just gives it like substance and texture to it, because you can do it as cleanly as possible, but then it almost feels not soulless, but it doesn't have that same weight and same groundness that you're listening to a real person play a real instrument. I think that's a really important thing for music, is to know that it's there.
Yeah, and I find the same thing with guitars as well. It's like I've got a really nice Taylor that I use live that I've had for a while, and it's a 12 fret. I think you've seen it. It's the little tiny one, and it sounds beautiful live, and it's really bright and really gorgeous. But I don't record with it very much because it's almost too clean and too bright. So I've got like a really old Epiphone J200 that I've had for 20 years, and I hardly ever change the strings on it, so it's dead as fuck. And it just sounds great when it just sounds like really woody and really and if I'm doing acoustic guitar and vocal and stuff, I'll use that like 99% of the time, just because I prefer the sound to it. It's like when again recording Jody with his guitar, it's just you feel. I love recording that guitar because you can feel the history in it, just kind of seeping out of it, and that's kind of nice to do, really, but. Yeah. So, but yeah, I just like the fact that you can get so many different sounds out of so many different instruments, and that I think you're trying to sometimes if you try and overproduce stuff. I mean, it's a fine line because you don't want it to sound rubbish.
Yeah,
but
but I also think in terms of people say stuff is overproduced as a cop out to say they just didn't like it, or they changed musical direction as opposed to the actual sound of it. It's like, what do you actually mean by overproduced? Do you mean kind of before they even hit record? Is it the producer dictating or pushing them a certain way as opposed to the actual production value? I think it's an interesting thing, I think, because I've seen it with a few different like country and Americana artists where it's overproduced, quote unquote, but it's not any different in terms of production quality, instrumentation, whatever. It's just they've gone a different direction.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think it's right. It's like there's stuff that I listen to. I was like talking about Billie Eilish and stuff like that. That's people will say, the production on that is so pristine, so close, so minute details and stuff like that. But I love it because the songs are good, and it's interesting. And conversely, I like, you listen to Hardy or something like that in the country scene as well that really pop. Country pop stuff that's, made for the radio market. And it's got to be really, mastered really loud, and it's got to have that like punch to it. And I like that as well. Yeah. But
I think for like pop and stuff, you want it produced to that like level where because you don't want to hear the breath or the creak in those things, because that's not what that market is after. That's not what it's for. But if you listen to a punk record or an old country record, you want to hear that thing that just shows that they're real people and the real thing doing it. Not necessarily DIY, but given that level of production value to it.
I think the thing is, as long as the song doesn't get lost, there's so many songs and pop songs and things that you listen to, and they're great songs, and you take them at face value. But then you'll suddenly hear somebody cover it. And I know it's really popular to do that thing where you take a really kind of poppy song and then you slow it down. You're doing it on a ukulele or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, I know that's done to death, but what it does is it kind of it shows you the song.
Yeah.
And especially lyrics as well. And I think there's so many songs that you suddenly hear to and you go, oh my God, that's so dark.
Mm.
You know, it's like I used to cover Baby Jane by Rod Stewart. And you know, his version's like, you know, like, it's like really swingy, poppy stuff. But you take that song apart and it's like, you know, it's so dark. It's like, don't forget, I know secrets about you.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, man, that's like, Rod, what are you doing? You know, it's like, you know, people like that you suddenly you take a song apart, and I think that's, you know, that's why covers are, you know, are really good. I think when you suddenly discover the meaning and what you take from it yourself as a song, you know, that's you know, quite a valuable thing. And yeah, I think that everybody on a production course, or especially on a music course and stuff, should be made to do a cover. So I think that's quite interesting. We did it for the Sheffield thing, which is the album that I've just done with for as a charity.
Yeah, I saw that online.
Yeah, it's great. So me and a guy called Harry Welburn, who you know very well, who does the radio show in Sheffield, came up with the idea in beginning of 2020 actually, saying, oh, we should do a charity album for Under the Stars, which is a brilliant charity in Sheffield that does music and theatre arts for adults with learning difficulties.
Oh, cool.
And there's a really good, amazing singer called Julia Waldron who works for the charity. So we knew it quite well. And they used to do these great DJ and club nights at the Lead Mill. They put these bands together and stuff. And we're like, oh, we should do something for that. We should do Sheffield artists covering other Sheffield artists. So that's where it was born. So we kind of got loads of people together, mainly mates, really. It was like, so Eddie and Jody and Ash Gray and, you know, people like that, and Julia and so, and we just literally finished. We actually did the gig this year. So it was brilliant. It was such a great time. But hearing how people tackle covers, you know, was great, you know, and, really good fun. I ended up doing the Thompson Twins, Hold Me Now, which is such a poppy song, but I kind of, again, made it slower, stripped it down, you know. So yeah, I think it's just quite interesting to do those things, to kind of dig into songs, you know.
And what made you kind of first think about production? Because obviously, like, not all musicians are engineers or producers and stuff, but what kind of drew you to that type of thing? Were you into the engineering side of it before you became like Buffalo Ghost and that side of things, or did it kind of become part and parcel at the same time?
Yeah, I think it became one of those things where I was songwriting. I used to do a lot of recording when I was younger. So when I was really young, there was none of this was about, you know. No. So you had your 4-track, you know, with your tape, and I still love that kind of aspects of, you know, you get it or you don't get it, and so I've always been drawn to doing that. But then you'd kind of, you know, that was as far as I got. I never thought about going into a studio, you know, when I was a teenager, because it scared the crap out of me. You know, I was not confident enough to, you know, play. I'm not a great guitar player, and I don't think I'm a great singer. So I think I was just really, just nervous about doing it. I'd not got confident. I could do it live, because I think it's like when you're doing it live, it's like it's over. If you make a mistake, whatever, it's part of the show, and nobody remembers it, you know, so it doesn't matter. But when you're doing recording, I want it to be really good. And so what happened was that when I started recording myself, and things like, you know, Cubase and computers and stuff came out, I was like, wow, I can suddenly record myself. So it started from there. And then what was interesting is that when I kind of put down music for a while, and then when I moved back to Sheffield and the kids were small and stuff, I started writing again. And it was actually what really got me into it again was meeting Jody and being in a scene where people push you as a songwriter. And so I really started thinking, right, well, I can record all the things I need to do now. Technology is getting so good that I don't need to go anywhere else.
Mm.
The funny thing is that for one of the albums, I can't remember which one it was, but it was quite a few years ago. I've got a friend who's a producer in Sheffield, and he's like Hawley's producer, and I'd done some work for him. He was like, "Oh, come to the studio and record a track." I was like, "Yeah, okay, that'd be brilliant." I've got a really amazing producer. Do it. And I hated it. I hated every minute of it because I felt like every time that light went on, I got red light fever, and I was like, "Can't do it." And I was like, "I need to be able to do it in my own time when I'm not thinking how much I'm paying somebody else to do it." And you're sitting there in a studio going, "This is costing me, X amount a day." Or I think I'd be all right if I was with a band because I think peer pressure and being in a team would be all right. But on my own, I was just thinking, I'm not happy with it, but I don't know how to tell him that I'm not happy with it. And and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's really good. It's really good." But I was not satisfied with my own performances. So I just went back to doing it myself, and at least that way, I'm not a control freak, but I don't like being rushed to do stuff.
Yeah.
But conversely, I'm really good. I'd like somebody, especially when I'm doing vocals, to be with me to go, "No, do it again. No, do that again. No, do that again." Because otherwise, I'm like 4 takes. No, that's fine. I like to get things down quick, and I don't dick about with them much afterwards. I'd rather get the performance in there and tweak it a little bit tuning wise, but I'm not. I don't want it to sound off.
No.
And actually, one of the tracks on the new album, the last track, I did go to a studio. The guy who I did some production courses in 2019 and then 2020 online, simply because I was getting so into it, but I'd never had any formal training or anything. And there was a studio in Sheffield called Red Tape, which is a council studio. It's been there since the 70s. It's like a bit legendary, really. There was a guy running courses there for adults. It was like night school. So I'd drive from Leeds back to Sheffield on a Tuesday night, get a pizza on the way home, stuff this pizza in my face, and then go and do 4 hours of recording production course. And there was me and like 4 other guys. I was like, it was like 3 girls, 4 boys on this course and stuff, all different ages and stuff. I mean, from 18 up. So there was me and this other guy who was probably the oldest on the course, and then there was these just various different people, which was quite good because everybody was getting something different out of it. But it was brilliant. The guy's just an incredible teacher and just a really nice guy, and he's like, he taught us how to mic everything up from like grand pianos to drum kits to vocals, and we produced this track, and I was in heaven. I could have just lived there and just learned all this stuff. And so I got to know Tom. Tom Henthorne's the guy who ran the courses, and he was ended up being my production mentor. He's the kind of guy that you can phone up and go, "Oh, it sounds a bit weird. Why does it sound weird?" And he's going, "Oh, you need to take your notch out at 200K or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, how do you know that?" I was just but he's always right. He's like, he just, his ears are like, he just knows when things don't sound right, and he knows exactly why. So he's always good. So anyway, I for the last time, I was like, he was helping. I'd gone to play him the album actually on the studio, and he was like, so he could listen to it, just because I wanted his opinion. And he was like, "Well, I've got some." I'd booked in like a day to do it, and he was like, "Well," he listened to the tracks and went, "Yeah, they're all great." I was like, "Yeah, brilliant. That's all I wanted you to say." It's like, "Well, do you want to record something since we're here?" So I've got some tracks that I'm working on that I'm trying to hold back because I don't want to start working yet. But there was one that's just a piano and vocal, and it was like, "Well, let's just do that." So literally, it was like put a mic in front of my face and mic'd up this piano. I was like, "Oh, okay," on the spot. And actually, I managed to get it done. I'm really happy with the results. And not only was it that, it's like I was playing and singing at the same time. So I had to get into that live mode.
Yeah.
Where I wanted to get the performance there. but I didn't want to fuck up.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because you get right. The nearer you get to the end, the more in your brain you're going, I'm going to cock up. I'm going to cock up. But yeah, that was. I think that was probably just because it was with him. I know him so well, and maybe it's just, I get a bit stage fright in front of people.
I think that is important though. Is I ran recording studios in uni, and it is making sure that the people around you trust. Because the first thing I ever recorded when I was about 18, it was in a recording studio in Liverpool, and the engineer was a fucking dick. And it was, he fought us on every decision. We were like, oh, we want to kind of do gang vocals on this. And he was like, no. And I was like, I was 18, so I didn't question it. But looking back and like how I've ran studios and how I've recorded now, where if someone says no to me when I'm saying, well, no, I'm going to do it because I'm fucking paying for it and it's my music. But when you're that young, it's one of those things where you're like, you don't argue with the person who you think knows better than you.
Completely agree. I mean, I think that's where I felt, when I went back and did this stuff, with the other guy I know. It was lovely. I get on with him really well. We're really good friends. But I felt like he was like up here and was like, he was saying, oh, you should do this. Like, I think the thing is, as a producer, and I think this is why Tom's really good, is that, in fact, I think we did one session on how to talk to singers when you're recording. Like that was great. Oh, brilliant. You nailed it, man. We just do one more.
Yeah.
It's like Roland saying, really not good. It's like, but I think you've got to be a people person, and you've got to be able to talk to people in a way that is, respectful.
Yeah.
But also be able to, get what you think is going to sound good, but still catch what they want.
Yeah, I even think like compromising, like, because I've done it for my, like, when I was doing studios, and he should have done it back then, was you go, okay, that's a good idea, let's do it. And then you play it back and go, how does that feel? And you go, actually, no, that doesn't actually work. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be able to, your experience might tell you that it's going to sound rubbish, but you need to be able to factor in time to be able to, for them to hear it, try it and hear it, so that it doesn't work. I think you do it you must do it with design and stuff as well. And I know I do it when I'm doing photography, is that sometimes somebody's got an idea and they're like, oh, I want it to like this and we could do that. And you're like, yeah, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to get that with what we have. And, you just have to kind of show them and they go, yeah, it's not working, is it? Yeah. And I think it's any sort of creative thing, is that if you're producing or helping somebody to do stuff, is that you can have ideas that you can throw in, or you might have in your head what you want it to sound like. I've only ever had, it's really funny. I was thinking back of all the things I've done this year, because it's been quite a busy production year. And right at the beginning of the year, I did Andy P. Davidson's album. Yeah. And that just came out of us talking last year. But he's like, I've got these demos, I don't know what to do with them. And I was like, well, send them to me. We can do some stuff with them, I'm sure. And he'd got them all on GarageBand. And he'd played, electronic drums, and he'd got, guitars down and things like that. So it was all like a snapshot of what we needed to do. So all I needed to do was go, right, this is what I think needs to be done on them. I'll put some parts down so you can hear. He'd already done the bass. I redid the drums in Logic, actually, because I didn't have the facility to record a drummer at the time. He put the bass down, he put the vocals down. So the only thing I really did was I did some sort of piano stuff on it, and I did like layered guitars. I tend to kind of throw a lot of guitars onto stuff just to try and make things sound a little bit more interesting, really. And there was a few tracks where I was like, oh no, I need to strip all these guitars out. I need to strip all this out. And there's one track in particular, I was like, I really like the guitars on that. And he's like, yeah, it's not working. Let's just strip them out. And it's the only track on the album I kind of thought, oh, I wish we'd left those in. But it's at the end of the day, it's his album, so he wants it to sound like that. And then I saw him like probably about 2 or 3 months later when they were doing stuff, and he was like, oh, we started doing that track kind of with Fargo. I was like, oh, that's cool. Putting an APD track in with Fargo. It was like, yeah, we put all the guitars back in. And I'm like, well, you took them out, man. It's like, oh God, it's like, but it's those things, you need to be sympathetic to what people want,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, it's their thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but I think, did you record all your stuff like in studios then?
So Rusted, like my EP, it's my mate's got a home studio in
Okay.
Paul. So I recorded Rusted as just like that EP was 3 microphones to catch the guitar and vocals, and it was literally we did 2 takes. Best take stayed, and we did a bit of mixing on it. The Next Life, it was the same studio, but what we did was I stayed over at his, and we had like a weekend of recording everything kind of as a like just basic tracks with just me and the guitar singing to catch everything, then going overdubbing the guitars, redoing the vocals, and then going out
right, and then
did the harmonica and stuff. And then we went out to like pedal steel was done in the States. So that was remotely recorded. Fiddle, we went over to someone else's house and recorded that in their garage. But then we recorded the majority of it in like 2018. And then I did a fucking ton of gigs and was listening back to everything and was like, I can do all these vocal takes so much better. So then it was, I think, end of 2019 or middle of 2019, we went in and redid all the vocals again because I just knew I'd grown with it enough. Because sometimes you write a song and you record it and it's still fresh and you capture that freshness, but then you gig it and you road test it and it gets a weight and you know how to deliver a certain line a certain way that gives it more of an impact. And it was one of those things. We did 2 days of just vocal takes and I ended up fucking blowing my voice out for like a month from it, which I was just being an idiot over.
I should do that. The things with me as well is that I don't do a ton of gigs. I do. I like doing solo stuff, and I love sitting and do it. But I don't actively pursue like loads of gigs, and I should do more. Because I love doing them. I love performing, and it's the best way of showcasing songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I should literally go, right, I'm going to do vocals this weekend with somebody and just do the whole thing. Because you're right, as a song develops over time, the more you play it, you just naturally can sing it. Whereas right when it's new, it's like, but I get to a stage. I'm definitely with this album, having it been on the boil since 2020, that a lot of the stuff was recorded, in over 2 years. So now I'm listening to these final mixes. I'm like, I'm almost at that over stage where I'm like, oh, I don't like that. And actually, nobody else hears those things. No. And it just needs to be released into the wild now. Yeah. And I can go, right. And then I'll spend the next, 10 years going, oh, I don't like that bit, but, at least it's those things. But I love the fact that you were saying that, you recorded like this bit in a garage and then you went somewhere else to do this bit and then this was done remotely. I think that's the most amazing thing about recording stuff today.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love going other places and being able to record and just going with a laptop, couple of mics, 2 pair of headphones. Well, that's all you need. It's all you need, and you go and record a piano or somewhere, or you go to a. We recorded some of the Sheffield stuff in the top room at a pub in Sheffield called the Gardener's Rest, just because it was a room that we got for free, and everybody could get to, and so we did that there. But I love the fact that technology means that you can do that.
Yeah.
Especially remote recordings, getting sent a load of stuff is like, whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I enjoyed about remote recording, and kind of my fiddle player. He does stuff through like Fiverr and things as well. Like he gets hired out to do loads of stuff, so he's got a load of recording stuff at his house. So I'll send him demos, and he'll just send back basically like a full mixed thing and all the layers and shit. Like Mothman, we recorded. It was meant to be me, drummer, fiddle player. Fiddle player got COVID, so he had to like just isolate. So it was just me and the drummer on the day. And then we just sent everything over to him after it. Because we recorded our parts. We recorded them together, then separate, and just to make sure everything fit. Sent everything over to him, and he just came back with this full thing. And that is the beauty of remote recording, because then it was also, we jammed and like rehearsed it and stuff, so we knew roughly the melody lines he was going to do and stuff, but he came back with like 4 like layered lines, and it was just like, holy fuck, like what people send you back is just because you aren't in the moment to do it. And that's where like the collaboration really comes in, when you trust that artist to really bring their talent and perspective to a track.
Completely. I mean, that's why I loved, I mean, doing the first Quarantines out, because so before I guess in the Quarantines came out because we were all in quarantine. So being able to get like full drum parts like from Cornwall, you know, in your Dropbox, just like, wow, man, that's cool. And then, you know, ironically, And I was literally about, you know, half a kilometre from where I am, but we still meet. So there was that, and then I've got a friend of mine who's a really good singer called Sally Doherty, who sang on one of the tracks, and she did that remotely. So
I was going to ask, was that Follow Me Down?
That was Turn This Boat Around. But Follow Me Down is Julie Waldron, who I was talking about earlier. Cool. She's got a phenomenal voice. She really has, and she's really lovely as well. So yeah, there's quite a few. That's where all the duets and collaborations, sort of vocal stuff started. Just being able to do that, and then get Julia to do one, and then, you know, Jodie to do one, and I quite like singing with other people. So yeah, and because we can record remotely, the only person that can't is Jodie.
Yeah,
he's not, you know, I always say it's like, whereas COVID and quarantining and stuff was kind of not the making of me, but it was like an opportunity. I mean, I don't know, there was loads of real crap and horrible things happening, but for me, it was a bit like, wow, I've got time, I've got some songs, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. So I embraced it, and I was going out on my daily run for an hour and writing songs and lyrics and stuff, because I write lyrics a lot when I'm running, which is really weird. And so I was coming back with all this stuff, and I'd got these people to work with, and I was on the phone to Jody going, "Oh, you're writing stuff, man." And he's like, "I'm not written a thing," because he got just his outlet.
Yeah, just before we go on, we're getting timed out of this, so I need to send you a new link.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I'll send you a link through Facebook.
Yeah. No worries, Matt.
Yeah. Or. Yeah. So Jody.
Yeah. So whereas I've got an itchy head, but I can't get to my headphones. There we go. Yeah. So with Jody, like his outlet is live stuff. You know, he writes for the band, he writes for live. And that was his thing. And he likes being out socially. You know, well, yeah, but you know, his outlet is kind of that live thing, and he had not written anything, and it was so odd to me to be to not. It just showed that we are completely different when it comes to that. But you know, I was trying to push him to write stuff, because we're talking about inspiration and stuff, especially with songwriting. He's probably my biggest influence over anybody, because he's a mate and he's bloody good, and he pushes me to do stuff, you know, in a really good way, more than anybody really. I mean, I've got influences and stuff, but I find my biggest influences people like, you know, like you and Jody and Chris, you know, and Amelia and you know, these, and Julia, and all these people that I hang around with. I hear that they're writing, and I'm going, oh my God, that's a really good song. You know, I listen to them more than you know, anybody else commercially really. So yeah, for him to just go and not write anything was like, whoa. I was really worried about him, but he was obviously all right. But you know, and
from what I've always seen of Jody's stuff is he is so live focused, because he is that type of musician where he has to imagine an audience singing it back to him and having that kind of presence. And I think that's a really interesting way to write, because it's not necessarily a right of necessity, but of like a want, and wanting to have that social interaction, like you said. And I think Jody's a really interesting artist like that, because he has that kind of perspective. Like, he can write a fucking hell of a song, but he wants what music is meant to do. He wants to be able to perform it live to people and have that reception to him.
Exactly. And he's able to kind of get in that, not only from with Fargo when they're like rocking and you know, the birthday shows and stuff, as you've probably seen Fargo loads, are just like, they're just like an experience.
Yeah.
But when he's on his own, and this is what I love about him solo, is that he can bottle lightning really well. And the first album that I recorded with him, his solo stuff. Have you got the little EP that he did, the kitchen?
Yeah,
that was on my kitchen behind that door. And he just came over, and I didn't even use. I used a vocal mic and a Zoom recorder. So the little Zoom recorders that have got the little cross things on the front.
Yeah, that's what I used to remote record my podcast with.
Yeah, amazing things. That was literally in front of him to get the guitar, and then I got a separate mic plugged into that for a vocal. And everything that we did on those was done on that. Yeah. And you kind of go, that's most basic recording things that you can do.
Yeah.
And it's all about his performance. And that's why that album just sounds so good. You know, because it's putting something in front of somebody and them trying to, and then just nailing it. And he did it. Most of those things were probably the first take, you know, which is what I struggle with. And I think that's why I'm in awe a little bit sometimes, because I've tried to do the same thing and it can never, I'm never satisfied with that kind of, you know, way of doing it. I need some run-ups and some false starts and some, you know, some of those sort of things. But yeah.
But because obviously you've got your new album coming out, I was listening to it, and it's really so well done. Is it called These Fires?
Called These Fires, yeah. Which is funny because I have got a song called These Fires.
Sorry, mate. 1 sec.
Oh, go for it. No worries, man.
Sorry, I thought the door had gone.
Oh, that's fine. These Fires. I've got a song called These Fires that's written. I'd got a different title for the album, and then I wrote a song called These Fires, which is basically about writing songs. So I called it These Fires because sometimes, for me, I feel like songs can come from lots of different places. They can either be me just playing some chords. As I say, I write a lot of lyrics when I'm running, which sounds weird, but I'll have loads of things on my phone or and my and stuff. And I find that they are like little fires that you can, you know, you build your wood and stuff, and then you kind of let them smolder for a bit, and then they might go out, and you're like, oh, okay, and then you come back to them and rekindle them again. Yeah. So it's like it's like building all these things, and you want them to burn and like kind of people and stuff. So I'd got that title, and I wrote this song called These Fires, and it's been but I've written that recently, probably in the last sort of like 4 or 5 weeks, and I was looking for titles for the album, and that just seemed to fit really. I've not recorded These Fires yet because I want to do it with the new band. So it's sounds a bit pretentious to have a song that is not on the album that the album's titled out of, but I kind of like that as well. It's a bit wanky, so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Well, it's what fits. It's what moves you and makes the most sense. I think that's the important thing, is to not try and force an album title. If it makes sense, it makes sense.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was listening to your podcast from a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember which one it was, but they were talking about having titles for songs before you've written them. I
Oh
think you were
yeah,
mentioning it. Like somebody wrote down and they'd go, I'm gonna have that song, it's called that, and it's all
yeah.
that
That
and
was
that.
the Pierce Edens one with Rob Halford's songwriting techniques.
Yes. Yeah, because you were saying you were reading Rob Halford's autobiography or something, which I bet is very interesting in it.
Yeah,
But I quite like that. And I've often thought about having a group of people and going, right, that's your title. Like giving you a title and you go, all right, I think people would. Yeah, I know I've done things where, you send like the different lines to people and things and try and write collaboratively like that. But I think song titles, more than like lines, sometimes make songwriters think deeper about stuff, because you take them in so many different ways. And I think that's I do that quite a lot, actually. I'll have a title and think, oh, I quite like, or I'll have a line and I'll be like, I like that. But often with my lyrics and stuff, it's about probably about two or three. They're either very storytelling, that's what they're about, telling a story, or they're quite ambiguous and quite. There might be about two or three different things, and I'll some of them will be from experience and some of them won't. And I don't necessarily want to write completely autobiographical. So sometimes it's about, line fit or feelings that fit. So, two different ways of doing it, really.
But I think it's because, this is from doing this podcast, you kind of expect songwriters to have their way. But every songwriter has like 5 or 6 different ways of how they'll be inspired and how they'll come up with stuff, and how a line will generate this and then a chord progression will think of that. And it's, it's one of those things that it's so ever changing. It's a really interesting thing that you can't be beholden to thinking one way will work forever.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Do you tend to write lyrics first, or are you fiddling about on chords first?
It honestly, it depends. Like work on, I had the riff first, right, and then my most recent How to Build a Guillotine was I had that line and I just thought it was hilarious, and I just thought it was really funny. And then I was like, well, what would that song be about? And it was like, well, it would have to literally be about how to build a guillotine. And it's like, well, how do you build a guillotine? And then
research.
And then I had to do research, and I literally I think I shared it on my Facebook a while ago. I put up the I was messaging myself on Facebook, and I was thinking, I think the first line is find responsibly sourced timber, and I thought that was a really fucking pretentious lefty line to include in it, because that's how I feel. But it's like, well, it has to be responsibly sourced timber to build the guillotine. It can't be. Yeah, I just thought that was a really funny line.
The irony. I love the irony of that as well. It's like, you're not worried about what the guillotine's going to be used for, chopping somebody's head off. But make sure you responsibly resourced.
Yeah, because I feel like you could build the guillotine and start hacking off the people you disagreed with head, but the backlash would be, well, that was unethically sourced timber from the Amazon rainforest, and that's what you'd get cancelled over. It wouldn't be the actual
exactly. Yeah, no, I love that kind of thing. Those sort of dark lines are great and stuff. But turning my heating off. It's I love the way things can come from nowhere. Like sometimes I'll sit down and I've got lines that just write themselves, and it's like, there's a few songs that are like that, and then others that I'll have. If I tend to, if I do have music first, I'll either be sitting in my kitchen or what, just playing around, and I'll have always got my phone, just put like voice memo on. Yeah. And I've got so many voice memos now, and I've actually started doing a folder called Potentials, which is like ones that are they're one step from me about. And some of them have got lyrics and some have got words and stuff. And actually, I find that if I just sing anything, sometimes I might get a line from that and go, oh, actually, because it's subconscious. You just, whatever. But then there's other times where, like on the album, there's a song called "Rock the Boat," which is the single as well. It's just that came out from it, and it's quite rocky for me. It's got like a proper riff and everything, you know. And I had that riff for ages. I remember when we were first allowed out after lockdown, I'd got that riff, and Jodie picked me. Me and Jodie used to go and play basketball in the park, and when we were allowed out, and I'd got this riff, and I go, oh God, man, I got this riff, and he's like, oh, it's really good. And I'm like, I have no idea what to do with it. And I must have had it for a year, just listening to it in the car, going, and the song was kind of built, and I was like, I've never struggled so much with lyrics for it. And it had got a real kind of, it was me like embracing my inner Lenny Kravitz, and that's and I was like, oh, but not as cool, obviously. But and I was like, oh, I really wanted to have that funky feel, but rocky as well, and stuff. But I know I'd write about, and I wanted it to be kind of meaningful, but also throwaway and uplifting as well. And then a photo shoot with for a dance company in Leeds. And it was a group of guys that do heel dancing. So like really big, cool guys and stuff, like very camp, very lovely blokes. But they're dancing in heel, like 6-inch heels. And they're like really funky dancing and stuff. And it was kind of, you know, it was just really inspiring. And I just thought, I'm just going to write a song about how different we all are and how everybody's really cool and stuff. And, you know, you've got to get out there and like fucking tell people that you're there, you know. So I didn't really mean it to be about diversity and like right on and stuff, but it like it ended up being that way. And I really worked hard to make sure that, you know, I said what I wanted to say. And I don't write a lot of like political stuff or anything. A lot of my stuff's like so throwaway. It don't really matter. Do you know what I mean? I want it to be meaningful, but I think
you don't get it. You don't want to make matter. Some people don't want to make a statement. I think that's like the thing where it's like you want people to get it, but you don't want to like plant your flag. Well, that's one of the things I try and do is like, if I'm gonna say fucking build a guillotine, it's like, well, that's a statement now, and I have to kind of commit to it. But then there are the songs where it's like it's not necessarily throwaway, but it's, you know, it's not the be all and end all of my personality. And it's one of those things.
It's not a political statement. Yeah. And I love, you know, a lot of people that do have, you know, I don't know, there's so much music and there's so much you can do with it. That's the beauty of it, you know. So sometimes, you know, if that song is going to come out from it, you know, great. And I like the fact that actually, if you didn't listen to it that much, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's just about, you know, rock the boat. Yeah, man, you know, just be out there, go and kick ass. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the feeling that I want from it. And actually the riff and that drive on it really, really has it. And I've managed, but the thing is, like, I've managed to nail a couple of really great musicians to work on this as well that have ended up forming the band. So I've not been in a band in inverted commas for years. You know, it's just been me and then grabbing a load of people in to come and record. But I've decided for this album launch, I wanted a band. You know, I didn't want it to just be me. I wanted it, and I wanted a band that can carry on and do other things. That I'm ready to kind of go out and be in a proper band with people now. Yeah. So I managed to get a guitarist called Mark Lyle, who's amazing, Sheffield sort of legend almost. He does with Bear Cats. He was in Robin Son. He does M&J Blues with his dad still, which is an incredible experience. You ever go and see them? And I just asked him to record a couple of tracks. So he did that, and then he did 500 Horses as well. Because he's a really good lead guitar player, and I'm a rubbish lead guitar player. I'm like Les Dawson on guitar when it comes to solos. So yeah, and he was like, "Oh, I really like this stuff." And I said, "Well, I'm putting a band together if you really want to be in it." And he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm up for that." So it's him, and then Smack from Fargo is drumming for me. So that's kind of a bit of a coup, which is really good. And I've just said, look, you know, that's really good. that he wants to do it and that he's able to do it. I've always said, look, this band will work around anything anybody else wants to do. I don't want to do 1,000 ton of gigs. I'd rather do one gig every 4 months than 4 gigs every month.
Yeah, you've got to be selective to really make an impact, I think.
Exactly, yeah. And then really good friend of Smacks was a bass player that I played in a couple of covers bands when we've had a bit of a laugh, called Jules. He's solid on bass, so there's him. So yeah, between us, that's the core. We're going to get some other people to come in and out and stuff on the night to do.
Awesome. And is that kind of the plan for 2023? Because I know you've got a Sheffield gig booked in for the album launch and stuff. Is that kind of like the plan to?
That's it, yeah. So the first time we went out as a band was the Sheffield gig the other night, and it was like sold out Leadmill. So you can't, and I'm like, well, our band, the first time we went out, we sold out the Leadmill. The fact it was a charity gig, there were other people on, I'm not going to mention, but it felt really good to be on a stage with 3 other people, and we were just smiling all night, and it took me 3 days to kind of come down from that gig. So, and we only did one. Well, we ended up doing one track, and then we ended up back in Julia at the end because the guys that were going to back her had to drop out the last minute, and so we're like, we can play that. She did Moloko sing it back, and we were like, Mark's like, oh, I know the riff, we can do that. I was like, oh, okay. So I ended up backing her, and it was just a really good night. But yeah, so the February gig, so February 3rd at the Greystones, is the album launch, and that'll be the first proper Buffalo Ghost. I'm not doing the quarantines. It's literally just going to be Buffalo Ghost. And I've said to the guys, look, if you want to change the name, let's just change the name and be a different band. I'm quite happy with that. I don't want it to be like me, but they're like, well, you've kind of started to get momentum with this. So that, so I'm quite happy. I don't want it to be about, I belongs to it, but I want other people to kind of have their input. And I think that the music sound will change quite a lot because of the other people that are involved. I'm quite looking forward to that. But yeah, we've got a core of us, and then we've got some guest people that are going to come and join us for doing stuff. So, Julia, my wife Charlie's going to sing a couple of tracks because I'm doing a whole acoustic bit at the beginning as well.
Yeah, cool.
She's singing on that. A guy called John Slater, who's another really good guitarist, who played on the 6 Feet From You album.
Oh, awesome.
So he's there. So 500 Horses, which is on the first track on the album, is about like racing cars, like cars and money. It's about, and so I got them both. So they're both soloing at the same time. So it sounds like a bit of a car race. So that's going to be good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just need to sell tickets. As you were saying about pre-sales. Yeah, it's really funny. And again, last podcast you talked about pre-sales and stuff. It's like you can't judge what's going to happen. No. And I'm so nervous about people getting in, but what do? You can tell people about it and just hope, really.
Yeah, Facebook adverts have helped.
There's the good thing. Facebook adverts, okay, I'll bear that in mind.
The grim thing is you do have to put money behind promotion. So what I've found works well is flyers and going out and actually people power, doing what happened to promote gigs back in the day before the internet. That works really well. And then it is kind of targeted specific Facebook ads. I've talked to a lot of other artists, and it's annoying because you shouldn't have to pay into the machine to get noticed. But the nature of the beast now is, especially the majority or the demographic of Facebook is older people who have disposable income, who are ticket buyers. You have to market to them, and getting a decent advert out in the right places will do a world of good.
That's really interesting. No, that's good to know. I think that I've been doing obviously artwork and posting flyers and stuff, putting those things out, and then Martin Bedford, who's helping me promote the stuff and doing the poster and album stuff. He runs Honeybee, and he's got a big mailing list, so it'll go on that as well. And I think that I am that demographic. It's quite hard to pin down what this album is, because it's kind of slightly country, it's slightly alternative, it's slightly, it's hard to know. And I'm kind of comfortable with not being able to pin down a genre. I'd rather be I don't know. I'd rather be hard to pin down than that's what you are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
It's
totally.
one of those. But yeah, I am. This is where I struggle because I am very comfortable with creating the product. I'm quite comfortable with doing all the packaging. In fact, I love doing all the artwork, and as you do as well. You know, we're both designers as well, and I love drawing all the stuff up. And I'm at the stage now with this album where I need to get the packaging done. And I'm looking really forward to doing that.
Yeah.
But when it's done, I'm rubbish. I'm done now. And I think the hardest thing is promoting an album when you're not. You know, being a designer is not the same as being a marketing person. Yeah. And I find the energy to be able to push something once you've made it is really wearing. I find it really hard. And I know some people are really good at it. But I just want somebody to just go, here we go, let me just do that bit.
Yeah. That would do it
if you pay for it.
Yeah. That would be the nice thing. I always try and I say this to people who are either anti-marketing or don't really know what to do and stuff, is if you just try and make it an extension of that art, you make it more fun for yourself and more people will gravitate towards it because it's not an obvious sell. It's not, this is my album, go listen to it. It's, this album made me feel like this, which is why I wrote it. It might make you feel like this. And creating art, because like obviously it's like this, it's called content creation, and I don't like, it's such a smarmy fucking phrase, content, but it's like you're still creating art. You're an artist putting something out into the world, so it should still be viewed as art, even if it's for mass consumption to appeal to something else. Because you know, you release a single, that is to promote the record. So if you're releasing a video or a picture about the single to promote the record, you're still creating art to create that thing. And it's one of those things where it's creating an extension of it. It's the part that you need to kind of perceive.
It's psychological thinking about it a different way. And I think you're right. And that's probably what I need to do, is just kind of go, right, it's not, oh God, I've got to go and try and get a review, or do these things. It's like, just make other stuff that people might like, to then ask them to go and listen to the album. I mean, I was debating whether I release the album before doing the launch, because if they're going to come to a show and I've not heard it, how do I do that? But I've sent it out to a few people to kind of like play and stuff like that, and some words, hopefully word will go round and stuff. And I will do some, just some little clips of like most of the tracks, and just go, okay, this is what it sounds like. But especially the stories behind them, because I love knowing why people write songs and the stories behind them. That's why I like songwriter nights best. They're my favorite kind of gigs, because I'd rather sit and watch 4 musicians talk about a song and hear it and go, oh wow, it gives you so much more meaning and stuff. But yeah, I just want people to come. I've just got to enjoy the fact that it's going to be fine. I mean, we've done like a few rehearsals, which has been really good, and then we're all taking a break until after Christmas, and then 4th of January we've got like 4 weeks to kind of nail it all. So that's going to be intense but fun.
Awesome. I think if you were interested in doing it, I think anyone who buys a ticket for the album launch gets a digital download of it, because a digital download, you can't really make money off it. It's one of those things that exists, but it doesn't exist. And then if they come into the thing, they'll probably buy a physical copy of it. Anyway, so I think that might be a worthwhile thing to look at.
Yeah. When I did the last one, I didn't do a launch because obviously we were in the middle of still in lockdown. But I did CDs, and because I really wanted to put something physical out there. I mean, you probably, I know you feel the same way, and the fact that I find a lot and listen to a lot of music digitally. So I'll be on Spotify, and it gives me new artists to listen to, and it's convenient. But if I find somebody that I really like, I'll seek them out on Bandcamp. I'll seek them out and buy physical records. I'll go to gigs and buy, and CDs. I'm quite lucky in the fact that my car still has a CD player, and I commute a lot. So CDs are always in. I love it, but CDs they're dead, really. It's like I only do it because I want to literally physically produce something.
Yeah.
And I sold a lot of CDs for the last one. I did really well, and I gave a download code for Bandcamp for each one, and I didn't release it on Spotify or anything for a year until after I'd done that. And I think that kind of kept the CD sales healthy.
Yeah, no, I would. Yeah, that's a great idea.
This one, I don't know what to do because I've not set it to be launched yet digitally, so I might do that and do right. If you come to the gig, I've got CDs to sell. You can buy them. Plus, you get a download on Bandcamp, and you always get like little bits like stickers and stuff like that. And I want to do some T-shirts, some merch, and stuff like that as well. So I might do the same thing and not release it for like 6 months until it comes out on Spotify. And that'll mean that people have to seek it out, and it means the hardcore people tell other people. And
exactly.
And as you know, to sell a CD for a tenner, you have to stream it 2,000 times on Spotify. So I'm not that I'm doing it for money.
But you want to be able to break even.
CDs, yeah, I want to recoup the cost of the CDs, and obviously I've not paid any studio fees, so that's one thing. Yeah. But I think it's just trying to keep yourself producing the sort of stuff you want to do in a physical format that you want to produce. I mean, I'd love to do vinyl. I would absolutely adore to do it on vinyl. I just can't afford it. It's just not. It's not even in my sphere of, being able to do. But who knows? I mean, in the future, I might be able to do that at some point.
I think I'm going to kickstart my next one to cover the cost of the vinyl. Yeah. That's the plan anyway.
Yeah. I think that because I don't really have a massive following, I think it's only just starting to kick off. And I think that's through working with other people. My name's about from a production point of view and a songwriting point of view, but I need to do more gigs, and I need to, the band will help with that.
Yeah.
In between the band gigs, I'll try and get some more acoustic stuff in. I'd love to do loads more singer-songwriting nights, because those are the ones that really feel like I can showcase what I'm doing as a songwriter, more than just going out and like paying, a 45-minute set. So that's the plan really, but I don't really have a plan.
Yeah, well, that's all you can do, but I think that's a good place to kind of wrap this up, man. But it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I can't wait to hear. Obviously, I've been listening to the record, and it's great. I can't wait for everyone else to hear this thing and for you to start gigging and, cutting your teeth on the live scenes and play these tracks as well. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, no, that's what I'm looking forward to next year. I mean, I've got a load of stuff with the Mark Joe and stuff coming up as well. I mean, I can only do that when Mark comes over.
Yeah.
So that gets quite intense when he's over here. But mingling the two in, they're very different. So I'm really, really looking forward to doing that. But yeah, thanks for chatting to me. It's been
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Nah, that's great, man. Thank you so much.
Cheers. And there we have it, folks. Episode 60 of the Rogue Country podcast in the bag. Thank you so much for listening. Do not forget that Buffalo Ghost is playing his album launch on the 3rd of February. The Honey Bee Blues Club presents, and it's gonna be at the Greystones in Sheffield. You do not want to miss this show. TC and the Hoodoo Shakers and AMJ are opening. It's gonna be an amazing time. Make sure you go listen to Buffalo Ghost's new album, out on the 3rd of February 2023. This year, we're in 2023 now. Time comes for us all. Until next time, keep supporting the things you love, keep doing the things you love, and peace.